Hello everyone.
Hello.
That's two videos in a night. We're like buses. You don't get any and then all of a sudden they all come at once.
Two come along at once.
Yeah.
So funny.
Yeah. We thought we'd do a posting today on a little bit more about the control of the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society and some of the methods that they use. Now we could talk about that all night long.
How long you got?
But how long you got? So what we did, we thought there are so many things. We thought we want to do a posting on control about the Watchtower, but there is so much out there regarding control. It's difficult to actually just pinpoint which parts to share. So we thought we'd just keep it simple, because there are different layers to this, many layers to how they control the flock, shall we call it.
It's like an onion, many layers and they all stink.
So what we thought we'd do is really the best place to start is to go to the source itself. So if you are watching this Watchtower Bible and Tract Society, I have printed off a page from your jw.org, and so it is accounted under the fair trade or fair use, shall I say, rules, and I'm going to quote something from your pages, but not very much. So here goes. We're going to start it off by calling it this: Are Jehovah's Witnesses a cult?
I got the answer for that one.
Stop it.
I didn't even have to prepare.
Let's read, because it's interesting.
All right then.
All right. Okay. You might find this interesting. You can look it up yourselves on jw.org, and the more you see, the more questions we now have. And I suppose it's because our eyes are now wide open to the many facets and tentacles of the Watchtower. But here goes. Are Jehovah's Witnesses a cult? And I quote, no, Jehovah's Witnesses are not a cult. Rather, we are Christians who do our best to follow the example set by Jesus Christ and to live by his teachings. What is a cult? The term cult means different things to different people. However, consider two common perceptions regarding cults and why those perceptions don't apply to us. 1. Some think of a cult as being a new or unorthodox religion. Jehovah's Witnesses have not invented a new religion. Okay? That's an interesting one. That's a lie. That's a blatant lie.
They're changing themselves all the time anyway. That's another point.
They haven't invented a new religion. On the contrary, we pattern our worship after that of the first century Christians. Well, I could debate that.
But not only that, every religion out there could say the same thing.
Exactly. Whose example and teachings were recorded in the Bible, and they use 2 Timothy chapter 3, verse 16 and 17 for that. We believe that the Holy Scriptures should be the authority on what is orthodox in matters of worship. Once again, I don't believe that's accurate. Do you? They believe that the Holy Scriptures should be the authority. What about all the times they go beyond the things written? Anyway, let's go on to the next part. Some think of a cult as being a dangerous religious sect with a human leader. The word dangerous is in there.
They don't know. They don't have a human leader, do they? They have 8.
Well, Jehovah's Witnesses do not look to any human as their leader. Right? Okay. That's why they are the governing body have been. I saw that video a while back where they were autographing Bibles. Okay. They're autographing Bibles, and people were stood there in queues waiting to have their autograph in their Bible. The audacity of it. Rather, we adhere to the standard that Jesus set for his followers when he said, "Your leader is one, the Christ." Now, here's the next part. For many, far from being a dangerous cult, Jehovah's Witnesses practice a religion that benefits its members and others in the community.
Really? That's a new one on me.
So it benefits its members, okay, or we could debate that, and then it benefits others in the community. No, okay. That's a lie.
It is a lie.
That's a blatant lie.
The only thing that they ever do with the community is try and convert them.
Take from the community, they don't give
They
to
take
the
and take and take, but
Okay,
they don't give anything.
For example, our ministry has helped many people to overcome harmful addictions,
Okay, yeah.
such as the abuse of drugs and alcohol.
So with many churches out there.
I'd beg to differ on the alcohol one.
Oh yes.
Oh,
We
yes.
know a few people. You know who
In
we're
fact,
talking about.
We might even do a posting on alcohol.
Yeah. I like a drink. In fact, I'm coming on to a point in a minute.
Right, let me finish this.
All right.
In addition, we conduct, and this is a classic. You ready for this? In addition, we conduct literacy classes around the world, helping thousands learn to read and write. And we are actively involved in disaster relief.
Only if there's witnesses caught up in it.
We work hard to have a positive impact on others, just as Jesus commanded his followers to do. A positive impact on others. Okay, that one page is absolutely full of contradictions, and I would say untruths. I'm being kind here. We all know that is a crock of you know what.
Smelly stuff.
The smelly stuff. Do they really set up and conduct literacy classes around the world, helping thousands to learn to read and write? Are we talking about the ministry school? I think that's all it is.
Mark and
it?
I read this and we said, I knew an elder, in fact I know two elders, who in our very town, when they first became Jehovah's Witnesses, they couldn't read or write, and then they're both now elders. And it was through the ministerial training school that they were educated.
Yeah.
Now that fantastic, really good way of helping people overcome their academical inadequacies, of not being able to read and write, fine. But there's many places out there that would help people, including churches that we know of, unconditionally. The only reason these two elders learnt to read and write was because they were studying to become Jehovah's Witnesses. It wasn't, I'm gonna teach you now. I'm gonna hold a class in a village hall or in an area of my home, and I'm gonna hold a class. I'm gonna teach whoever needs to read and write or would like to learn. Come to my home at a certain time. It's open to the public.
Yeah.
That's not what that's what they would like you
That's a total
to
lie.
give you the impression of.
Yeah.
What they're talking about and actually saying that they teach people how to read and write, or how to become, how to do this through the theocratic ministry training school, which is something that they do in their kingdom halls on a weekday evening, where they give a talk to either a brother or a sister in the congregation that they then have to do the research on and get a talk up together, usually around about 5 minutes long, and they go up on the platform and they give it. And they also are trained in that way in order to how to approach people on the ministry. That's the overall reason for their training.
It is training, and it's intense training, as we all know. If you've been a Jehovah's Witness, you'll know it's very intense. So I think we've discovered by just reading yet again another page from jw.org that it's very glitzy and it's very inaccurate to what the reality is. They don't have and conduct literacy classes around the world. That's just not true.
Well, we were thinking about this even more, that we heard something recently about how they're focusing their efforts now on third world countries with regards to their ministry efforts. And Mark and I have come to the conclusion the reason they're doing that, and many of you will agree with this, that it's because the Western world have the ability to internet now, Google things, do their own research, and it's getting harder and harder to convince Joe Public
It's bottomed
that
out.
they are this holier than thou, wholesome group of people. Because you just have to put Jehovah's Witnesses in on the internet and you get all these different things coming up.
Well, we know there's an education program going on now that will make it very clear exactly what the Watchtower is all about.
Yeah.
And all of us have got access through our mobile phones, for instance. So,
but the only places that don't have that facility are third world countries. So it may look on the overall picture that, isn't that lovely? Isn't that wonderful? They're focusing their efforts on countries that could really do with encourage, lovely. Within the organ, I can imagine what my grandparents would say, my grandmother. I can imagine what she would say about that. She'd be going, oh, that's amazing. Look at the speeding up of the work in the third world countries. Truly is Jehovah behind the organisation? No, it's just the organisation trying to find a loophole to recruit more people because they're losing people faster than the water through a sieve.
Conducting literacy classes around the world. Honestly.
Now go back to the alcohol bit.
Okay, let's move on.
I like a drink. Mark likes a drink. We knew many, 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 many witnesses that used to focus on that after them. Oh, I can't wait to get home. I need a glass of wine. I can't wait to do this. I need a glass of wine. I got to read you this. I was looking through the Shepherd the Flock book, and did you mind me doing this bit now, darling?
No, you fire away.
I've just got to read you this.
Yeah.
Okay, fascinating.
This is the book that doesn't exist.
It's
by
on
the way.
page 48, and it was under the section. I can't remember what it was under now. I think it was how to have symptoms of spiritual weakness. There you go. Okay, I'm going to read you this paragraph.
Okay.
Paragraph 4, under symptoms of spiritual weakness. Alert, loving shepherds will detect symptoms of spiritual unsteadiness in others and then act decisively to help them before the problems escalate into serious sins. And now this is the symptoms. Symptoms of spiritual fatigue include, get this, lack of self-control in eating, drinking, and pursuit of pleasure, a complacent spirit, loss of enthusiasm for the truth, including daily Bible reading and personal study, harbouring serious and lingering doubts, neglecting association at congregation meetings, and becoming overly critical of elders and the organisation. Just want to go back up to that first point there. Now it says any one of these aspects could be a sign or a symptom of spiritual weakness. Lack of self-control in eating. I would love to have seen a brother approach a sister in the congregation. I've been up and down my entire life with my weight, and I like my food. Stuff it. I love it. Absolutely love my food, and I like my drink of wine. So, if I'd have had a brother,
you're in big trouble with both of them. Then,
if I'd have had a brother come up to me in the Kingdom Hall and said, "Sister, you seem to have put on a few pounds there. Could we have a little chat? Maybe we could come round." I'd have knocked him out. In fact, there's a few sisters in the Kingdom Hall that I know I'd love to have seen a brother approach them. You've put on a bit of pounds around the old thigh area.
Everything all right at home?
Hips, but your tummy's getting a bit big. Oh, you imagine, they've got that in their Shepherd the Flock book.
Spiritual weakness.
Spiritual weakness.
Now look at this. Let's take it down to another level. Let's remind ourselves what this book is. This is the Shepherd the Flock of God book. This is the clergy class.
Their Bible.
This is the elders. Yeah. These are the people that are instructed by the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society to conduct and control those within their flocks, those under their arm, so to speak. So they will get this type of information, look at it, and realise that this is what they should be doing to control the individuals that are within their realm. Mm. So if you are eating too much, you're spiritually weak. If you're drinking too much, you're spiritually weak.
No, it doesn't say drinking too much. It just says drinking. That's what I call it. A lack of self-control in eating and drinking.
Well, we all know what that means.
What is it? How much is a lack of self-control?
Well,
I've had 2 packets of crisps. Oh, lack of self-control. Oh, I've had 2 glasses of wine rather than 1.5.
I had a discussion once with an elder, and I still think the world of this guy. I love him to bits, and what he told me, he was sharing with me, and just being honest, man to man, about some of the things he was going through at the time. And this is long before we resigned. And it was the beginning of the meeting, and I said, "How are you?" And he said, "Not good, actually." And he said, I'm just down at the moment. He said, I'm drinking far too much. And he said, I even had a hangover this morning. Didn't want to come to work. I didn't want to go to work, and I certainly didn't want to come to the meeting. And this is an elder. And he was being very honest, and completely frank with me. Now, I'm not doing anything other than than showing respect to this guy, to this man, because he was being honest. But the whole avenue of drinking within the organisation, we know, and I'm sure some of you will probably share your own experiences when this goes out for replies, there is a drinking issue within the Watchtower Society.
Yeah.
We all know that. It goes right back to Rutherford. Even within the Prohibition era, he was drinking himself. But it's carried on, and although they're so strict in lots of different avenues, when it comes to the intake of alcohol, there are a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses that drink excessively.
It's specifically more amongst the youngsters as well. I mean, I know several brothers who were the ministerial servants that have never been married, in their late 30s, early 40s, never will be married, but their habitual habits, their things that they do on a daily basis is get together as a group of brothers and they sit and they drink. Yeah. And I know that there's one or two that have got to the point where it has become a serious problem for them.
Yeah, it is.
And in fact, I'll just tell you a story now of when I was about 16. I was regular pioneering at the time, and there was a house around the corner from us, and a brother, it was an elderly brother. I wouldn't say he was a regular attendance at the meetings, but he was an elderly brother, baptised. Didn't really see very much of him, and he had a house that he rented out all the rooms to. And I remember going round to a younger brother's room. It was his room, and it was about 4 or 5 of us. We'd gone on the ministry for the day, and we'd gone back to this brother's house for the evening, and he was going to cook us up a meal. And in the kitchen of that particular house, along the whole back wall of this particular kitchen, were empty bottles of Newcastle brown ale and different things like speckled hen, all empty, but all lined up. Loads, I mean, you couldn't count the bottles, there was that many. And it wasn't that had been built up for a long time, that actually wasn't that old. Those bottles weren't that old. There was about four of them. Still fresh. Four of them in the house. And the brother that we were friends with, and he was cooking up a meal for all of us that were around there, I was in the kitchen helping him. And we went in to ask this elderly brother if he wanted a plate made up. There was a bucket by the side, you know, the old home brew big buckets, big bucket full of sick alcohol, and I don't want to discuss, I think it was feces and urine in there as well, because this particular brother had a massive problem of alcohol, very big problem. And I reported this and said to another elderly brother who's an elder, and I said, I think he needs a visit, I think he needs some help, because I was concerned about the way that he was living. But the rest of the household of these brothers didn't think it was wrong, didn't think that there was anything wrong in this bucket with this contents of all sorts in there in his room. And the smell was overpowering, it was disgusting. Now, that's a problem. That's a serious problem, and I understand that's it, but I wouldn't say it would be a result of spiritual weakness or anything. I would just say that person's got a problem with a particular, and you could narrow it down to all sorts of a depression problem. It could be, now why is he depressed? Is it because he's got a spiritual weakness? And the problem he's got a spiritual weakness is because the witnesses don't fulfill spiritual need at all. Because they don't have the ability to understand what that spiritual need is.
No, they don't.
They don't have a relationship with God.
That's right.
They don't have it at all.
One of the reasons why we all know that there's this sort of endemic problem with alcohol within the religion is because it's a way of pacifying and relieving and offsetting the depression that many of them feel and the rut that they're in and the cycle that they're in, because they can't get out of it. They're trapped within it. So, in the privacy of their own homes, they drink. And who can blame them? Because it's
an
just
escapism for them.
It's a way out.
It's an escapism, and I just find that interesting that in that particular article, that particular paragraph we've just read, that the two things that are mentioned at the very beginning is the eating and the drinking, because there's pleasures in life, in certain things in life as humans. We have the ability to taste and appreciate beautiful things that we're eating and drinking. We enjoy. That's a pleasurable thing for humans to do.
Yeah.
And in order to fulfill some kind of pleasure, because that's something that's pleasurable, a lot of brothers and sisters that are in the organisation focus on specific things like that to try and fill that lack of pleasure in the rest of their life, because they're not allowed pleasurable things in the rest of their life because they're so suppressed within the organisation. So they cling on to anything that they can do. And I think that that's why, specifically with the younger generation, that drinking to excess is the one thing that they can do behind closed doors that seems to be an okay thing with the other brothers and sisters around them.
Well,
because they're all
this
doing
is
the
the
same
interesting
thing.
point, babe, is that the younger generations, and we know lots of them, drink to excess with each other. And that's a very good point,
Yeah.
because it's acceptable.
Yeah.
It's okay to drink. If they were all to suddenly get cigarettes out and start smoking, that would be an appalling thing to do.
Yeah.
And they would all be absolutely horrified at anybody doing that. But with the alcohol, it's a very different subject. And they're allowed to drink. And so therefore they drink, and they drink to excess. More often than not. And I think any witnesses out there that have a congregation, you need to be honest with this and understand and accept the fact that this does go on.
I'll tell you now, I never went to a family do or a congregational youngsters do that didn't involve alcohol and lots of it.
Yeah.
And if they ran out, they went out for more. And that's a massive thing. I mean, it's very, very. It's like it's like water availability in this country. It's like it's water, and I know that. And as I say, we like a glass of wine. In fact,
absolutely.
I'll probably have one this evening with my meal with my husband.
What do you mean, probably?
Oh, I will.
Yeah.
But the point
There you go.
is, we're not criticising that. What we're saying is, you've got to look at the reason why they're pointing out these things. Why do they see? But they're saying it's a sign of spiritual weakness, when actually, the things that they're talking about there's a reason why that may be a problem within the organisation, is because the organisation is the cause of drawing people and dragging people to experience pleasures and concentrate on those pleasures.
If we just go back down to the this page here, this paragraph that Cora's just quoted, on page 48, if you've got the Shepherd book. If you want this, by the way, we can PDF and send
File
it
it.
through to you. You need to give us an email address and we'll send it to you.
Yeah.
But on page 48, if we look at the other layers to this, and here's another layer, there are many more. Here's another one. If you look at the wording that it talks about there in the latter part of that paragraph, it says that including daily Bible reading and personal study, harbouring serious and lingering doubts, neglecting association at congregation meetings, and becoming overly critical of elders and the organisation. These things are happening within people's heads and hearts within the congregation every single day.
Yeah.
And as a result of it, they're fighting it. The elders are fighting it. Many of them are. And they're realising that this isn't the truth. But they're fighting these things and realising that one of the ways out of it is to drink.
And the interesting thing is, when we had the elders come here to talk to us when we said we were leaving, they were talking about the meetings and everything. And one of them said, "I go for my fix. I go to the meetings for my fix." Now, you could say he's spiritually weak then, because he's only going there for his fix. He's not going because he wants to learn about Jehovah, and he's actually wanting because that's the thing to do.
I do remember him saying that, yeah.
Why would he say that?
I go there for a fix.
What fix? What fix? You mean so that you don't get looked at spiritually weak?
Yeah.
And I think that's really wrong. There's many reasons why people didn't go to the meetings when we were going through, either through work commitments, poor illness, just sheer feeling down that day and just not in the mood to associate with everybody in the Kingdom Hall and get love bombed. And there's a lot of reasons. And as Mark just said, a lot of people do have these negative and feeling of lingering doubts because they see so many things happening within the organisation that the moment they start mentioning anything, they're going to be seen as spiritually weak, so they have to subdue it, swallow it, and sit on it and don't say a word and carry on.
Well, it's just another layer, for example, being overly critical. Now, at some point or other, most Jehovah's Witnesses will find themselves becoming critical of things that they're seeing within the congregation. they've got to be very careful at this point, because the minute they open their mouth and start to share with other brothers and sisters or the elders that they're being overly critical of a situation that they feel is unjust, that is a sign of divisiveness, and it is a sign of spiritual weakness. And the elders within this handbook will pay them a visit and start to isolate them if they don't toe the line, keep their mouths shut, and get back into the centre of the congregation.
The other thing I noticed in that paragraph, it says becoming overly critical of the elders in the organisation. Well, is that meaning then that unless you are the elders in the organisation, unless you see them as the ultimate, oh God, then you're spiritually weak? There's no mention of God in there as being. Now, I thought that spirituality had a connection with God. Am I wrong on that?
Well, as Christians, we know it's about a connection with the Holy
Christ
Spirit.
Jesus, but none of that's mentioned.
No, it's
the Holy
this is
Spirit,
about
Christ
control.
Jesus, and God are not mentioned.
And this is why we're
the
mentioning
Father
this.
are not mentioned in this paragraph at all.
Symptoms of spiritual weakness. That's how it's titled.
Yeah.
It's about control.
Yeah.
And here's another example. Shall I go on to this one?
Yeah, go on.
Do you remember this book, Organised to Do Jehovah's Will? I'll be very quick with this because I noticed that the time's running away with us. This is a fascinating book about control if you start going through it. But here's another one that we haven't discussed very much. It's on page 158, if you get the chance to, if you've still got the book at home. Cases involving minor baptised children. Minors. Now, we know of cases where children have been baptised at 8, 9, 10 years of age.
Yeah.
And, they're just learning to tie their shoelaces.
I was baptised at 15.
Can you imagine an 8-year-old being baptised? I mean, it doesn't bear thinking about. But this is what it says. Serious wrongdoing on the part of a minor children who are baptised should be reported to the elders. When the elders handle cases of serious sins involving a minor, it is preferable that the baptised parents of the young person be present and cooperate with the judicial committee of a minor, not attempting to shield the erring child from necessary disciplinary action.
A minor.
Just as in dealing with adult offenders, exact words, the judicial committee endeavours to reprove and restore the wrongdoer. However, if the young person is unrepentant, disfellowshipping action is taken. Now that's very blunt and very clear. Goes to show that obviously as you get baptised, no matter what age you are, the minute you're baptised, you come under the strict control, not of your parents as a minor, you are under the control of this organisation.
And you will be watched by others, and you will be dobbed in by elders' children and the people around you who are also up to no good or up to things that they shouldn't be up to. When I say up to no good, they're just being kids, they're just being minors, they're growing up, they're finding their feet. But you will end up.
And this is what we're trying to
where you are.
Get from the message of this video.
Don't get baptised.
Is that the control element of this religion goes very deep. And the minute you're baptised, no matter what age you are, no matter how young you are, although you come under the guise of belonging to your parents, no, that's not true at all. The minute you do something wrong, you come under the punishment of the Watchtower Society from other men outside of the family.
Consequences.
Therefore,
cult.
All
No way
day
about
long.
it. We could talk about this forever. There's lots more points we could bring out.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, they say they're not a cult, but
You are.
you are. You
We all
certainly
know.
are.
Thank you for listening, everybody.
Yeah, and we'll catch up with you again soon. We'll be doing a couple more videos shortly as well.
I just want to say that there are lots of people on this Google thing. It's a long story, but there have been quite a few that have sent us messages and they've been asking us questions. There are quite a few that we haven't got back to yet. We apologise.
Yeah.
We will get back to as many as we can that we can see that we haven't lost on the Google list.
Yeah.
So
we can never find an answer when we've seen a message and we've read it, and then it just goes off, or
it's
it
a
goes into
nightmare.
the ether somewhere, and you're trying to find
nightmare.
it. It's a nightmare.
So-
Anyway, take care, love you all, and we'll hopefully catch up with you again soon.
thank you for listening.
Take care.
Bye for now.
Bye.